Hey, guess what's happening on this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with your friend and host, Oscar Camejo.
Hey folks, welcome. I often hear from people who feel stuck sometimes when it comes to knowing what to do to start controlling diabetes, losing weight, and being healthy overall. Even some who don't have diabetes share their struggles with weight loss and what they've been dealing with when it comes to just being healthy. They feel stuck mainly because there's so many diet style choices and exercise programs out there that people are getting confused. There are even mixed beliefs about the effectiveness of diabetes medication treatments. People are frustrated and majorly confused. That's how I felt when I began my journey to where I am today. That's why in this week's episode, I wanted to do things a little different. I feel the need to share my story on a more personal level to hopefully help encourage you and your loved ones to not give up on your pursuit of good health. My story is very simple. It's not unique by any stretch of the imagination. It's not special, but hopefully you can find a little inspiration when you need it the most by listening to my story. So, in this week's episode, I'm going to share what life was like before reversing type 2 diabetes and how it's been since then. I'm going to share my ups and downs, my struggles and my victories, and exactly what I did to press on in my darkest moment. So, my friend, stick around to hear life before and after reversing type 2 diabetes, more than a weight loss journey. Let's go. Welcome to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with me, your host, Oscar Camejo, helping diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. I'm so grateful for this opportunity and this platform that I have to just share my story and to share practical tips for living a healthy lifestyle. When I started this journey of sharing with people my story on TikTok, I never imagined that it would just make that much of an impact. So I wanted to share with you a comment that came through TikTok. I had posted a video recently, and Trista left this comment. I was talking about what I did to reverse type 2 diabetes and so forth, and giving people practical tips. So Trista said, "Congrats. I just got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and it's been a reality check. I'm on the right path, though, not going to let it ruin my life." Way to go, Trista. That's awesome. It really blesses me when people leave comments and they rate the show and, they seek answers to questions, because that's how it was for me. When I was first diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I didn't know where to get answers from. I was more confused than anything else. So I want to thank all of my listeners from various cities and countries. I never thought I would be able to reach people worldwide. But you know what, folks? I recently found out that this podcast is being listened to in over 35 territories, basically countries. People in Asia and Europe and even Africa are listening to my podcast. This is no exaggeration. So if you're outside of the US or you're within the US, thank you for listening each week. It really is a blessing. So please be sure to share this podcast with your friends and your loved ones, your family members. Tell them about this guy named Oscar way down here in Atlanta, Georgia, who is encouraging folks to make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. Even if they don't have diabetes, maybe they have pre-diabetes, or even if they don't struggle with diabetes, but you just want to lose weight and live healthy and feel fit, focused, and alive, hey, tell them to tune in to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with Oscar Camejo. I always like doing that little bit there. And you know what? One more thing. Please take a moment to rate this show and leave a review. You can do it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform you listen to my podcast. So again, my people, thank you so much for being loyal listeners. Yeah, I love you all. So, okay, let's get into this week's episode. life before and after reversing type 2 diabetes, more than a weight loss journey. If you've been following this podcast from the beginning, then you know most of my story. I pretty much mention it a little bit each episode because I never want to take for granted that everybody knows my story. But if you've never heard my story before, well, I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell. Back in August 2020, I was feeling sick. I was ill. I was tired a lot. I was drained. I felt weak. I had frequent urination, and there was a dramatic weight loss that I was experiencing over a few days, and it just didn't feel right. Things were just off balance, and I don't know, headaches and all kinds of stuff was just going on. So I decided to go and visit my doctor and had some blood work done. And then a few days later, I got a call from my doctor saying, "Hey, you need to go to the emergency room immediately." My blood sugar level was just elevated. It was just out of control. Now, mind you, this is August 2020. It was then in the hospital that I learned that I had developed type 2 diabetes. I was a 268 pound diabetic, folks. I had no clue what to expect, except to just follow my doctor's orders. And, he told me to take meds and try to lose weight and then come back in 3 months. Now, let me back up a little bit. When I was in the hospital for about a week and in the hospital learning about finally having developed type 2 diabetes, I was scared, no lie. I mean, I was just nervous. I didn't know what was going to happen. And so I was just like, man, what's going to happen? Am I going to lose a limb? Because I've had people that I know who lost limbs. I know someone who died of diabetes, and it was just a scary time. So, again, leaving the hospital, I did a follow up doctor's appointment, and he just prescribed medication and told me to lose weight. And again, told me to come back in 3 months for another checkup. And, and that was it. And basically, he told me I was going to be on meds for the rest of my life, people. And I remember seeing on this one document that I got, my checkout from my doctor, it said treatment for type 2 diabetes mellitus was long-term medication. And that thing just hit me like a dagger. It just stuck me like a dagger. Long-term treatment, which made me feel like, okay, I was going to be a diabetic for the rest of my life. And I mean, it was just crazy. So let me fast forward till today. It is currently 2023 at the time of this recording. And I have lost over 80 pounds of excess fat, folks. I'm off medication. I was finally able to reverse type 2 diabetes in less than a year. My lifestyle of eating is now healthy and I exercise daily. But you know what? There were different stages that I went through between the time I was diagnosed, actually pre-diabetes back in 2018. And I'm going to get into that in a second. To the time that I was able to reverse type 2 diabetes. There were things that happened in between that would just blow your mind. Hopefully you can relate to some of the stuff I'm about to share with you. So I want to talk to you about the stages I went through, again, leading up to me developing diabetes, the changes that I made and how I live now. And like I said, hopefully you can relate to it because my goal is to help you to overcome some hurdles if you feel stuck, or maybe you feel like your weight is out of control, your cravings out of control, you just feel like you don't have a handle on diabetes, or maybe you've just been diagnosed with pre-diabetes and you don't know what to do. So I want to go over 3 stages with you, right? Stage number 1, if you will, of my journey. I call it the pre-diabetes life. That was roughly before 2018. This is again before I was even diagnosed with pre-diabetes. I enjoyed an illness-free life most of my life prior to 2018. I didn't smoke, I didn't drink alcohol, never did drugs a day in my life, and I considered myself fairly healthy. I was average weight until about 2015. Now I'm kind of going back in the history books. So until about 2015. I was average, height, well, excuse me, average weight around 2015. But guess what? Gradually, I started putting on weight. Now, mind you, this is 2015, all the way up until 2018 when I was diagnosed pre diabetic or having pre-diabetes. So within 3 years, I had ballooned up to 268 pounds. How did it happen? Folks, I was eating out a lot. I rarely cooked at home. My family at the time, we always ate out. We ate fast food all the time. As for me, I ate whatever I wanted without really thinking about my health. Health and our healthy eating was kind of on the back burner. It wasn't really a big thing at that time. I was drinking lots of soda, lots of fruit juices. I would exercise on occasion, but it was just nothing that was you know regular. It was not consistent. I didn't go for regular doctor visits. Can you relate? I know some of you right now, you probably haven't been to the doctor in a minute. So, you know what I'm about to tell you. You need to go to your doctor. Stop playing. I was stressed out from work and going through relationship issues. I was working long hours, had very little sleep, and this was consistently. Would go to bed like at 2 o'clock in the morning, snacking, eating all kind of junk food late at night, fried foods. Man, it was just crazy. Now, looking back over some pictures of myself prior to 2015, and then between 2015 and 2018, I'm like, wow, I can see the slow progression of me becoming overweight and eventually obese, folks. I don't know about you. I don't know if you used to be an athlete at one point in your life. I don't know if you maybe have had children, ladies, and you put on extra pounds. Trust me, I know the feeling of just one day you look up and you are heavier than you want to be. So I just want to encourage you that, hey, I've been there before. Things can turn around. I want you to be able to turn things around. And hopefully you find, some inspiration, as I mentioned before, through my life, my story, and this podcast. Now let's move on to stage two, living with diabetes. I call that the hospital to the kitchen stage. Leaving the hospital in August 2020 when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. By that time I was diagnosed fully or as having full type 2 diabetes. I left with a folder. They gave me a folder at the hospital and there was a list of diabetes medications and how to take them. I had to practice injecting myself with insulin because they told me insulin is going to help me to bring my blood sugar down after, meals and so forth. Yeah, leaving the hospital, it was crazy. So again, this is stage two. I'm fully now aware that I have type 2 diabetes. And now I got to figure out how to live with this thing. Right. So going from the hospital to the kitchen, and there's a reason why I label this section or this stage as hospital to the kitchen stage. Because you know what? I was worried about taking too much or too little medication, let alone what I was supposed to be eating. Coming out of the hospital, they also prescribed me with blood pressure medication, or at least my doctor did, cholesterol medication because my cholesterol was high. And folks, I had so much stuff going on. I was confused about what to eat and what not to eat. I bought a diabetes cookbook. I still have it. And, I was still confused as to, okay, what do I do with this book? And I was going through all this stuff by myself, folks. I didn't have the support that I needed. Not blaming anybody, not trying to shame anybody, but that's just my reality. That's my story. That's what I was dealing with. And so, I was like, man, I got to stop eating out so much and I got to start cooking more. So, eventually, went through a lifestyle changes and found myself single and living on my own and going through a very tough time. But I decided that, you know what, despite the stress that I was under, I was going to turn over a new leaf, if you will. So I bought an air fryer at some point because I had heard about air fryer cooking was better than, deep frying foods and all that other stuff. So I was making food at home. So I decided, hey, I'm going to cook and I'm going to do it more regularly. I'm going to stop eating out as much. And then when I do eat out, there's certain things that I'm not going to eat. So at home for dinner, most nights I was making baked chicken and broccoli. Honestly, that was like the basic thing that I need to do. And I would I was buying salads from fast food places instead of um, just getting like fried chicken and all this other stuff. So I started making different choices. So as I learned about certain foods that were unhealthy and not beneficial, I started cut those things out. So I started staying away from bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, potato chips, cookies, cakes, pies, soda, fruit juices, and even some quote unquote healthy snack bars. Man, I had to get rid of a lot of stuff. I had to get rid of my lemonades that I would have, sweet tea. And I mean, I was just serious, folks. I was like, never again am I going back to the hospital because of type 2 diabetes. So I was determined, and then I started exercising, 2 to 3 times a week. It was tough, man. It was really tough. So if you're going through a tough time right now, and you want to lose weight, maybe you have diabetes, or you've been diagnosed with pre-diabetes. I recommend that you stop eating out as much as you're eating out. And when you do eat out, make healthier choices, folks. I mean, I can't stress it enough. One day I need to do a cookbook. People have been asking me for like healthy recipes. I need to finally go ahead and and do it right. Yeah. If I make a cookbook or a meal prep plan, would y'all get it? Would y'all want it? Let me know. Okay. Email me. Tell me how much you would like it. In any case, folks, I just started exercising more on a regular basis, but I started being consistent and I found a workout program that I knew that I can do and that I can stick to. I'm a black and white person. I like to see things in writing. Give me something that's practical that I can follow, and I would do just that. And till this day, folks, I still work out. I still keep my exercise routine simple, and so I can be consistent. I love going to the gym now, but when I first started off, man, I would just sit in the parking lot some days, just like dreading going in because I was overweight and I just felt like, man, am I going to get any results from doing all this? Is this even worth it? And, sometimes when you're overweight, you're obese, and you're wanting to make a change, when you see little to no results, sometimes it can feel like, is this even worth it? Am I really gonna make it through the other side and be able to lose weight? Trust me, I've been there, folks. I would go into the gym with knee pain. I dealt with back pain, hip pain, low endurance, low cardio output. I mean, going up and down the steps, I was winded. Can you relate to that? Have you dealt with knee pain and back pain, hip pain, and I remember just bending down to tie my shoestrings, and I had this sharp pain going down my left leg, from my back all the way down, and it was sciatic pain, and I was like, "Oh man, what's going on?" You know, it was just it was tough, man. So, you know, uh, and when I started working out more consistently, things didn't change. Still worked through knee pain. Man, I used to have knee braces, one on each leg, because my knees were inflamed. I was dealing with inflammation like nobody's business. You talking about trying to do squats, man, my knees were popping all the time. And I used to have to hold on to stuff just to get down to do a simple squat, man. And then not to mention trying to do sit-ups. Come on, man. Carrying all that weight. I was getting out of breath just doing sit-ups, man. But one sit up at a time, eventually it became easier. One squat at a time, my knees became stronger, and my diet started affecting me in a positive way, and I was able to do better exercises. And it was just like eventually I was able to take off one knee brace because one knee started feeling better. Then eventually took off the other knee brace, and things just started feeling better. My knees were getting stronger, my muscles were getting stronger, ankles were getting stronger, and joints, just different things. And of course I was taking my vitamins and making sure I was getting proper nutrients. So as I learned, man, I was just implement stuff. And I'm glad. So I went from doing little to no exercises, folks, till today. I looked up my stats, and to date I've done 465 total workouts. That's 37,476 minutes worth of exercise. Now and this is when I started tracking my workouts. So I started seriously going to the gym on a regular basis June of 2021. So you can imagine going to the gym sometimes 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and 7 days a week. Not always doing intense stuff, but I went from 2 to 3 to doing 5, 6, 7 days a week. Now that doesn't mean that you have to do that. That was just my commitment to myself. I didn't hire a personal trainer, never did. Not saying that I'm against it. I believe trainers can help people to get to the next level. But I needed to push myself. I needed to train myself. I needed to learn and implement what I was learning, because if I was thinking that, if my trainer was not available one day, what was I going to do? Not go to the gym? So I had to be my own motivator, and I had to trust God. I had to pray every day before I work out. I still do that, by the way. And I just thank God for my healing, my health, and that my body's prospering even as my soul, my mind, my will, and emotions are prospering. So, you know, exercise got to the point that it was just feeling great. Now, that doesn't mean it's a piece of cake. Nah, not at all. But making changes to the way I eat and how I exercise, folks, it made a major impact on my life. And so I encourage you to, if you're like me, you would drive up to the gym or to the park wherever you work out and exercise, and you may sit in the car, get out the car, take one step at a time. You can do it, my friend. Just keep going. Never stop. Keep going, because your body's going to love you for it. So, as part of my journey, beyond just weight loss, I still kept up with my doctor's appointments and blood work. As I was losing weight, I was paying more attention to my numbers, my blood work numbers. I would check my blood sugar 3 times a day at that time. I was paying attention to my weight. Yes, I was getting on the weight several times a day, and because that was just on my mind, I was just like, man, I need to do better. But there came a point when I had gone from 220 pounds to 268 pounds to 220 pounds. And it felt like I had reached the plateau. And I was like, man, I lost this amount of weight. Why did I stop? What was going on? What I realized was there were certain things that I was still putting in my body. Like I was get this smoothie from this popular place, and it was full of a lot of sugar, and I really didn't learn about sugar till later on. And then I realized that, what, I was, even though it was a meal replacement smoothie, it was full of a lot of sugar, and that was causing me to still put on weight or maintain weight. So when I cut that out and I started cutting out more sugary foods, I realized that, okay, my body started adjusting and I started burning more fat. I kept doing like a low carb diet and or eating lifestyle, if you will, and things just started changing. And then I went from 220 pounds to 215 to 210, then went sub 200 at some point, and I was like, man, I'm on a roll. So I just kept doing it. I kept making adjustments as I learned about food and nutrition and exercise, and I just kept at it, man. I wasn't willing to go back up weight wise. I wasn't willing to go and back into the hospital. No, not at all. So my health started improving the more weight I started to lose and the more I stuck to eating healthy. That's all I can say, folks. I didn't do anything magic. There was no magic to it. There was no pill, no surgery, you know, um, that I did. I just kept at it. And so my doctor slowly and over time cleared me to stop taking each medication that I was on. First it was insulin that he started weaning me off of, you know, and because my numbers were starting to look good, I was making progress. So he was like, yep, you don't need as much insulin. So he would wean me off of that. Then eventually I completely got off insulin. Then the blood pressure was starting to become better, consistently better. Then he eventually took me off blood pressure medication. My cholesterol levels were improving. Then eventually he took me off cholesterol meds. And finally, I was taking a diabetes medication called metformin. And at this point, when I was starting to be weaned from metformin, I had asked my doctor because I was looking at my numbers. And I was like, according to these numbers, it looked like I reversed type 2 diabetes. And I remember asking him, Doc, does this mean now I can get off metformin? And he looked at me and basically told me I was going to be on metformin for the rest of my life. I was like, nah, Doc, that's this is trending differently. This is not trending upwards as far as my numbers going up in terms of my diabetes numbers. Now, numbers were trending downward in a good way. So, in back of my mind, I was like, nah, I'm gonna keep at this and see what I need to do. Because by this time, I started learning about that reversing type 2 diabetes was a thing. Because mind you, before I was just thinking about living with diabetes and what my life was gonna be like. You know what I mean? Then I started hearing more and more about reversing type 2 diabetes. And I was like, yo, I want that. That is what I'm going to achieve. So eventually my blood work revealed that I had, in fact, reversed type 2 diabetes. And yeah, it took a while for my doctor to clear me off of metformin, but praise God, I was completely off of all medication until this day, folks. I am off medication. Test after test showed that my A1C blood work was back to normal. My cholesterol remains normal. Blood pressure normal. And then I no longer was insulin resistant, folks. And you know, I am grateful for where I am today. It's not just because, it was some magic that happened. I had to put in the work. So I encourage you folks to put in the work. I know it's not easy, but, I don't know what your why is, why you want to lose weight, why you really want to lose the weight to reverse type 2 diabetes. I don't know if it's because you want to live longer to be around for your kids, or you just simply want to live healthy. I don't want you to just say, I want to lose 50 pounds just to lose 50 pounds. But what is your why? What is your reason for wanting to, reverse type 2 diabetes or prevent diabetes? Why? Why do you want to lose all this weight? I know what my why is, but what is your why? And that's going to help you to go to the stage in your life where, like me, and I'm gonna get into stage 3, where it's all about maintaining a healthy lifestyle. That's where I am right now. My why keeps me going. My why keeps me focused on maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Because you know what? Just because I dropped over 80 pounds in a safe and practical way, just because, I look much, much thinner than I was before, just because I work out on a regular basis, that doesn't mean I'm just going to go back and just eat how I used to eat back in the day and just let everything just go and be like, okay, well, now I can just eat a whole bunch of cookies again and just really stop working out and whatever because I reversed it. No, my why, it keeps me motivated. It keeps me going. And to be honest, you all are a part of my why, helping people to live healthy. I want to do it. I love doing it. People come up to me at the gym or I meet strangers. And it just seems like God has just been putting me in positions to really just talk about my life and helping people to change. I have coworkers that talk to me about, some challenges that they may have and how they want to just turn their lives around. Spouses come to me, because they want to help their spouses to live a better life and to be healthy. And I'm grateful for the opportunity, folks. So that's why for me, it's more than just a weight loss journey. Yeah, I dropped over 80 pounds, but now what? My what is to be a blessing to you all, to help encourage you all. Because you know what? I know what it is to have a waist size that's over 40 inches. My waist size used to actually be 44 inches. I remember my neck size was like 17 and a half and three quarters or something like that. And it was hard to button up a button down shirt. And I was at a point where I was wearing triple X clothes and almost going to 4X. And now I wear medium. I wear medium shirts and I wear not really skinny jeans. I'm 50. I can't be trying too hard. You know what I'm saying? But I look good, folks. I'm not bragging. Yes, I am. I'm bragging on God and what He's allowed me to do. But, my waist size went from 44 inches to now 33, 32 inches, something like that. And even sometimes 32 inches just feels like it's loose. And I'm grateful, man, and I believe you can achieve that too. Maybe you're not trying to get down to a 32 waist size, but you're trying to get down to, sub 40 inches. And I think that's definitely recommended, especially for guys. You want to get down. For ladies, I think you want to get sub 35 inches, something like that. So again, it's more than just weight loss, folks. It's, wanting to get to the point where you're maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Like me, I want you to decide to keep the weight off after you get to that point where you get the weight off for you and you're living healthy. I want you to keep the weight off. I want you to make living healthy a lifestyle simply because you're going to feel good about it. You're going to like how you look in the mirror. You're going to like how you feel. You're going to be able to get more sleep at night. You're going to have more energy and endurance than before. Trust me, I used to be prone to injury, and like I mentioned before, aches and pains. Not anymore. If you're dealing with swollen ankles and knee pain, like I told you, that was me. I want you to look forward to the day where your ankles aren't swollen, your knees aren't aching and dealing with all this inflammation and even neck pain. I don't even think I mentioned about neck pain that I used to have. Again, just because I've reversed type 2 diabetes, it would be foolish of me to go back to living that old lifestyle. It's the same thing with you. I want you to envision a day where you are living healthy, where you have reversed type 2 diabetes if you have diabetes, that you reverse pre-diabetes if you have pre-diabetes. Folks, as I mentioned before, now my passion is to help you. It's to help people to achieve good health, especially those who are overweight and experiencing diabetes related challenges. So, my friend, I hope this has been a beneficial episode for you. I want you to go back and listen to some of my other podcast episodes if you're dealing with cravings like sugary Sweet cravings. I have a whole episode on that, and I have an episode, 2 episodes recently that I published. Taking control of diabetes, part 1 and 2. If you're having trouble sleeping, if you're not getting enough water. I didn't even talk about how much I love water now and the benefits of getting water in this episode. I hadn't even talked about that, but go back. I mean, I have a whole bunch of topics. Just scan through, see what jumps out to you. If this is your first time tuning in, again, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. But, look at the library of stuff that I've published. Man, it's over 50 something episodes. They say the average episode or podcast dies or stops after 3 episodes, publishing 3 episodes or something like that. Or it could be after 30. No, some people don't even make it to 30. But I think it was like 3. And here I am. I've done over 50 episodes as of this podcast. And I don't plan on stopping. I'm going to be publishing content every week because I believe there's value in hearing from someone who believes in practical recommendations and practical steps to turn your life around. Again, my friends, thank you so much. If you've not been following me, I want you to start following me. I'm on Instagram under Beating Diabetes Lifestyle. And if you go in the show notes, you'll see all the information that's out there on how to follow me. Go to the website, get some information, and listen to some of my previous episodes, like I said before. But, subscribe. Come on, folks, subscribe. Tell folks about it, as I mentioned before. In any case, folks, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle podcast with me, your host, Oscar Camejo. I love saying that. So as always, stay focused, keep moving, never go back, leap forward, bounce back because you can, my friend. And above all else, trust God. You got this. And you know what? I believe in you. Be sure to visit the website at www.beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com for access to free resources and other information that will help you along your journey. If you would like to submit a question or a comment about the show or to learn more about the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle, you can always email me at hello@beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with Oscar Camejo. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for motivational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care by a physician or other healthcare professional or qualified fitness instructor. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you're looking for help on your journey, seek a qualified medical practitioner. It's important that you utilize someone who is a trained, licensed healthcare professional who can help you on your journey toward good health.